Hello, great morning everyone. Kumusta po ang bawat isa? I hope everyone ay in good condition and in good health. I am Ami Gire or Teacher Ami from San Luis, Batangas, Teacher 3 and Mathematics 7 teacher. This week, we will discuss about square root or principal root. So our learning competencies describes principal roots and tell whether they are rational or irrational. Determines between what two integers the square root of a number is. So before that, higit natin mas matututunan ang lesson kung familiar tayo sa exponential form. O higit, mas memorize natin ang 1 squared hanggang 30 squared para mas madali natin may identify kung ang given ay rational or irrational. Example, 1 squared is equal to 1 times 1 equals 1. 2 squared is equal to 2 times 2 equals 4. 3 squared is equal to 3 times 3 equals 9. 4 squared is equal to 4 times 4 equals 16. 5 squared is equal to 5 times 5 equals 25. 6 squared is equal to 6 times 6 equals 36. 7 squared is equal to 7 times 7 equals 49. 8 squared is equal to 8 times 8 equals 64. 9 squared is equal to 9 times 9 equals 81. 10 squared is equal to 10 times 10 equals 100. 11 to 20 squared. 11 squared is equal to 11 times 11 equals 121. 12 squared is equal to 12 times 12 equals 144. 13 squared is equal to 13 times 13 equals 169. 14 squared is equal to 14 times 14 equals 196. 15 squared is equal to 15 times 15 equals 225. 16 squared is equal to 16 times 16 equals 256. 17 squared is equal to 17 times 17 equals 289. 18 squared is equal to 18 times 18 equals 361. 19 squared is equal to 19 times 19 equals 361. 20 squared is equal to 20 times 20 equals 400. 21 squared to 30 squared. 21 squared is equal to 21 times 21 equals 441. 22 squared is equal to 22 times 22 equals 484. 23 squared is equal to 23 times 23 equals 529. 24 squared is equal to 24 times 24 equals 576. 25 squared is equal to 25 times 25 equals 625. 26 squared is equal to 26 times 26 equals 676. 27 squared is equal to 27 times 27 equals 729. 28 squared is equal to 28 times 28 equals 784. 29 squared is equal to 29 times 29 equals 841. And 30 squared is equal to 30 times 30 equals 900. Once memorize po natin ito, ang lahat ng squared na to ay perfect square at yan lahat ang ating tinatawag na rational numbers. Now to define what square root is, a square root of a number is a number when multiplied to itself will give you the original number. For example, the square root of 9 are positive 3 and negative 3 because positive 3 times positive 3 is equal to 9 and negative 3 times negative 3 is equal to 9. And they are multiplied to themselves and they are both equal to 9. If the square root of a number is non-terminating or non-repeating decimal, we say that it is an irrational number. The principal root. Every positive has two square roots. One is positive and the other is negative. The principal square root is the positive square root of the given number or radicand. The principal root is rational if the radicand is a perfect square. Kaya mas magandang ma-memorize natin ang 1 squared hanggang 30 squared. Napakadali na natin masasagot kung ang given is a perfect square or not perfect square. If not, then the principal square root is irrational. 0 has only one square root, which is 0. In addition, negative numbers do not have real square roots. Their square roots are called imaginary numbers, which are tackled in a higher branch of mathematics. And square roots are the numbers that, when multiplied themselves, equal to the number under the square root sign, the radicand. If the principal square root is irrational, the best you can do is to give an estimate of its value. Example, square root of 49 is equal to positive negative 7. Why? 7 positive 7 times positive 7 equals positive 49. And negative 7 times negative 7 is also equal to positive 49. Thus, square root of 49 has a principal square root of 7, exact root, and it is rational. Determine whether the principal root of square root of 17 is rational or irrational. We have no exact root for square root of 17, so the solution is positive negative square root of 17. And 17, radicand 17 is not a perfect square. If the radicand is not a perfect square, then the principal square root is irrational. So square root of 17 is irrational number. Number 3 example. Between which two consecutive integers does square root of 6 lie? Ano ang dalawang consecutive integers na nasa pagitan ng square root of 6? So if we are familiar and memorize the perfect square from 1 squared to 30 squared, alam natin ang dalawang consecutive integers. And 6 lies between consecutive perfect square of 4 and 9. So 4 less than 6 less than 9. Bakit? Square root of 4 is less than square root of 6 is less than square root of 9. Square root ng 4 ay 2 because 2 times 2 is equal to 4 or 2 squared is equal to 2 is equal to 2 times 2 equals to 4. We have no exact root for square root of 6, so bring down square root of 6 and it is less than square root of 9. And that is 3. 3 squared is equal to 3 times 3 equals to 9. So, the two consecutive perfect square, consecutive integers between square root of 6 are 2 and 3. Number 4, example, square root of 75 lies between what integers? So, 75. Kung tayo ay familiar, madali na natin ma-identify yung dalawang perfect squares na nasa pagitan ng 75. So, 75 lies between the consecutive perfect squares 64 and 81. So, 64 less than 75 less than 81. So, it means square root of 64 less than square root of 75 less than square root of 81. Square root of 64 is 8 because 8 squared is equal to 8 times 8 equals to 64. And we have no exact root for square root of 75. Bring down square root of 75. Square root of 89, the roots is 9. 9 times 9 or 9 squared is equal to 9 times 9 equals to 81. So the two consecutive integers between square root of 75 are 8 and 9. I hope clear how to find and determine the two consecutive integers between the square root of a number. Next. Example number 5, let us find the estimate value of square root of 10 to the nearest 100. The principal root of square root of 10 is between 3 and 4. So, by estimation, 3.1 squared is equal to 9.61 and 3.2 squared is equal to 10.24. So, we get 3 point something for continuation. The mass lie between 3.1 and 3.2. Continue the estimation to the 100th place. So, 3.15 squared is equal to 9.92. 3.16 squared is equal to 9.99. 3.17 squared is equal to 10.005. So, ito ay sobra na. Therefore, we can conclude that 10 is closer to 9.99. Therefore, by estimation, the estimate value of square root of 10 is 3.16. Ito. So, gagamit tayo ng trial and error and estimate the possible value of the given square root of a number. Another example, estimate the square root of 45 to the nearest 100. The principal root of square root of 45 is between, or of 45 is between 6 and 7, and it is closer to 7. So 6.7 is equal, squared is equal to 44.89. 6.8 is equal to 46.24. Therefore, must lie between 6.7 and 6.8. Let us continue to the 100th place. 6.71 squared is equal to 45.02. 6.72 squared is equal to 45.16. Therefore, 45 is closer to 45.02. Then, the estimate value of square root of 45 is equal to 6.71. So, I hope may clear at mas naunawaan kung paano tayo magkuha ng estimate value ng square root of a number. Now, let us define what irrational number is. Irrational numbers are found on the number line by approximation. We can plot an irrational number on a number line using its estimated value. So, hindi natin ma-graph ang given given square root kung hindi natin kukuhanin ang estimate value ng square root of a number. Example, plot the following irrational numbers on the number line. Example, plot the following irrational numbers on the number line: square root of 3, square root of 23, and square root of 48. So let us find the possible value or estimate value of the three irrational numbers or square root. Using the estimates, square root of 3 is closer to 2, square root of 24, 2 times 2 is 4, square root of 23 is closer to 5, 5 times 5 is 25. And square root of 48 is closer to 7 because 7 times 7 is equal to 49. By approximation, the given irrational numbers are plotted on the number line below. 1.5 squared for square root of 3 Hanapin natin, equals to 2.25. 1.6 squared is equal to 2.56. 1.7 is equal to 2.89. And 1.8 squared is equal to 3.24. So, dito tayo kukuha sa 1 point something. Continue natin for 2 decimal places for the hundred. So, 1.71 squared is equal to 2.92. 1.72 squared is equal to 2.96. And 1.73 squared is equal to 2.99. And 2.99 is nearest to 3, square root of 3. Therefore, we can conclude that the value or the approximate or estimate value of square root of 3 is equal to 1.73. For square root of 23, 4.5 squared equals to 20.25. 4.6 squared is equal to 21.16. 4.7 squared is equal to 22.09. 4.8 squared is equal to 23.04. Therefore, square root of 23 is equal to 4.80. And for square root of 48, 6.62 is equal to 43.56. And 6.7 squared is equal to 44.89. 6.8 squared is equal to 46.28. 6.9 squared is equal to 47.61. Pag diniretso natin, 7 na iyon, which is 49. So, dito tayo mag-i-stick at magko-continue for 2 decimal places for the hundreds. So, 6.91 squared is equal to 47.75. 6.92 squared is equal to 47.89. 6.93 squared is equal to 48.02. So, ito na yung value o estimate value ng square root of 48 is equal to 6.93. Therefore, we can plot now the following. Square root of 3 is equal to 1.73. Square root of 23 is equal to 4.80. And square root of 48 is equal to 6.93. So, this is the number line. 1. Ito yung 1 unit, then 0.73. So, that is square root of 3. Then, ito yung 4 units. Dahil 4.8 dito, estimate ng graph niya ay square root of 23. At ang graph ng square root ng 48, which is 6. 6.93. Estimate graph ng square root of 48 ay ito. So, this is how to graph and how to illustrate in the radical or the square root in a number line by finding the estimate value of the square root of a number. Okay, to answer our learning task number 1, letter A, write if the square root of the number is rational, and I if it is irrational. R kung rational, I kung irrational. Number 1 is square root of 81. Number 2 is square root of 121. Number 3 is square root of 29. Number 4 is square root of 67. Number 5 is square root of 225. Letter B, between what two integers the square root of the numbers can be found? Ano ang dalawang integers na nasa pagitan ng square root ng bawat number? Number 1 is square root ng 23. Number 2 is square root of 130. Number 3 is square root of 339. Number 4 is square root of 640. And number 5 is square root of 75. So, I hope clear po ang learning task number 1, learning task number 2. Letter A, dito sa rational or irrational column, isusulat kung rational or irrational ang given square root of a number. Kung rational, isusulat ang principal root dito sa column na ito. Kung hindi siya rational at irrational ang sagot, wala tayong ilalagay dito sa area o sa column ng principal root. Letter B, Numbers 1 to 10, you will write the two consecutive integers between the square root of a number. Letter C, estimate the square root to the nearest hundreds. So you will compute, of course, you will find what are the two integers between 138 and estimate the value of the square root of a number. Letter D, graph or plot the following irrational numbers or radicals or square root of a number. So, hindi natin siya mapaplot kung hindi natin kukuhanin ang estimate value ng bawat square root of a number. Tayo o kayo ang maglalagay ng number line dito kung ano ang value ng bawat naka-indicate dito sa number line. Depende sa computation na makukuha nyong value o possible estimate value of the square root of a number. So I hope clear po, maliwanag kung ano po ang gagawin sa learning task number 2, letter A, letter B, letter C, and letter D. Now, in learning task number 3, which is problem solving, so read the problem carefully, then answer the questions that follow. Grace wants to frame a square picture which has an area of 950 square inches. Number 1, how long is each side of the picture? And number 2, she has another square picture with an area of 1,200 square inches. How long is each side of this picture? So, i-apply natin dito ay ang formula ng area ng square to answer question number 1 and question number 2. So, I hope clear po kung paano natin sasagutan ang ating learning task for this week. Sa 1 to 3 and another activity kung may extra activity pang binigay ang ating mga guro. Now, to summarize our lesson for this week, principal root means every positive number has two square roots, one positive and the other is negative. The principal square root is the positive square root of the given number or radicand. So the principal root is rational if the radicand is a perfect square, and if not, then the principal square root is irrational. 0 has only one square root, which is 0. And in addition, negative numbers do not have real square roots. Their square roots are called imaginary numbers. Now, square roots are the numbers that when multiplied by themselves equal to the number under the square root sign, the radicand. So if the principal square root is irrational, the best you can do is to give an estimate of its value. And irrational numbers are found on a number line by approximation. And we can plot an irrational number on a number line using its estimated value. I hope naging malaking help po ang video ito para mas naunawaan natin ang tinatawag na square root and principal root at kung paano ma-solve o ma-estimate ang possible value ng principal root or square root of a number and ma-identify kung ang square root of a number is a rational or irrational number. So again, thank you for your time and for your watching. Happy learning, everyone. God bless.